Hello, my name's Andrew Hood. Amongst other things, I'm a guitar player and I make videos, guitar videos that are online. I made one the other day with this beautiful Ravstar professional guitar and posted it to the Yamaha users group on Facebook, and just had an amazing response. Is such a supportive user group there. But I've got Fenders and I've got Gibsons and all sorts within 2 meters of me here, but I just really love this guitar. But on the video that I posted the other day, I had quite a few people say that they really liked my tone and the sound I was able to get out of this guitar. So I thought I would just do a really quick video. It's probably for the guitarists rather than those that just watch my videos for the music. But for the guitarists out there, I thought I would just do a little video on how I get my sound, or how I've built my sound over the years. And it really came from around the COVID time. Before that, I was just a guitar player. I didn't really care too much. But as COVID came, I really started to obsess about every single point in that chain of what makes a great sound, right from my fingers. And we'll talk about the fingers I'll probably save that till last, even though it's probably the most important, but I'm going to save that till last. But right through the signal chain from this guitar to what you hear in my video. So I thought I would just take a few minutes and build it step by step for you, so that you could understand how I get my sound. Now, all I'm doing here, if you listen to it now, and I'll play a bit in a second, this is literally just the guitar straight through the Duchess V4 Victory amplifier. Right through, I have this volt interface into the computer. So I might do a little bit in the computer later, but that's sort of not, it's immaterial to what I'm going to talk about today. But I want you to see, this is really just the clean, straight sound as you might hear it, you know, if I was just to play something now. But that's at full volume. You're not really hearing very much, and it's certainly not very exciting for me to play. So it's hard to really get some oomph out of that guitar. But I want a better sound than that, right? So I need to start to build that sound, so that when I play videos and when you guys hear those videos, you can really hear how beautiful this instrument can be. You can hear, you know, all the practice that I've done, and you can hear what my fingers are trying to tell you when I play the music. So I'm going to start to build it up step by step. And I actually, I've tried all the digital things, and if you're a digital fan of amp modeling and all of that sort of stuff, and you can help me, or you have ideas, please feel free to put them in the comments, and maybe I'll see if I can build my own digital model of this. But what I've got is I'm more a traditionalist, so I've got a pretty big pedal board here in front of me. I'm going to put a picture of that pedal board in the comments. I'm not smart enough to know how to get the camera to go from up here and move it around, and so I'll just put a picture of it in the comments. But I'm going to talk through the pedals that I've got. And the first thing I'm going to do to my sound is that I'm going to add a compressor on that sound, because I don't want some things I play to be really loud and some things to be really soft. I want to really compress that sound so that it's a real sweet spot in the middle. So if I'm playing and I kick on a compressor, there you go. You don't really notice much, right? I do when we start to get it bigger, but what I want to do is I really want to just get control over the volume of how my playing is. So that's where I start. And the compressor I have is a UAF 1176 compressor. So that's the one. Sorry, I couldn't read. It was very small writing on that compressor. But then again, it's a pretty dull sound, right? There's not much to that sound. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give it a bit of a boost. And I have this great pedal called a Hudson Broadcast, and on the left hand side of that is a boost function. So I'm just going to kick that boost on, and again, here we go. So already you can start to see the sound is starting to get a little bit nicer. It gives it a really sort of fattening and a nice warm tube sort of sound, really nice to use. what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about my standard sound and then the negotiables or the extra pedals that I might use depending on the sound. But for every sort of sound I use, this is my standard sound I'm going to start with. I then go from that Hudson broadcast to a pedal I bought online. It was $80. I think it was made in China, and it's called a Klon Clone. Now, I know there's a lot of guys out there that, you know, want to spend $7,000 and buy the original clones and super clone, and you know what? I just love this pedal, and I don't feel the need to go and spend all of that money when I got this one for, I think it was like $80 or $90 or something. So let's have a look at what happens when I kick that on, right? So again, here's my sound now, just a nice E chord, and then I kick on my Klon Clone, and this is what I get. So all of a sudden, you can start to see there's real warmth in that. Right? Oh, I forgot to turn off my delay. But you can still, even without the delay. So you can start to see it's really starting to get some real warmth and beauty into this sound now. You can start to feel how nice this guitar is, right? I could play with that, like that's good. I get starting to feel the music in that now, so that's starting to feel really nice. But I really like a little bit of delay, a little bit of, you know, something in that. So what I'm going to do is, and by the way, that Klon is turned down as far as the gain very low, like a third of the gain, because I'm not really using it as a big Klon distortion pedal. I'm literally just using it as like a tone map. This is what I want my tone to sound like. I can see my camera's playing games, but that's okay. Let's see how we go. So really all it's doing now is, it's because I put my hand up. All it's doing now is just adding a little bit of tone to that sound. So I've got this beautiful sound here. But like I said, I like a little bit of delay. You heard it a second ago. So I'm going to put it on again, and I'm going to let you see how that now sounds. You might say, well, that's a lot of delay. And it sort of is, but it's the way I like it, right? So it's the sound that I like to hear. I'm going to turn off this AI tracking, so excuse me. Okay, there we go. That's the sound I like to hear. So I've now got this really nice sort of... So you can start to see it's a real atmospheric sort of sound. I quite like that, and even if you'll hear me when I turn up a bit in a minute, it'll give it a different sort of a sound. But I just like that, you know. On my amplifier, on the Duchess amplifier, I have a tremolo. So really that's my standard sound. But I like to then add, depending on the tune I'm playing, there's 2 or 3 different things that I'll add over the top of that, right? So if you've heard me play the tune that everybody sort of liked the other day, and they wanted to hear, you know, how did I get that tone? I start to, you know, play like this. And that's with that sound that I was just playing. But one thing I quite like, and sometimes I'll turn this on, I won't use it all the time, is I have a tremolo effect on the amplifier. I'm going to turn that on now. And the great thing about that is it starts to swell the sound so you can hear it. And I like that because it almost feels like a heartbeat to me. I want to feel that music throbbing, and I want to feel the heartbeat in it. So all of a sudden you can start to play things like this. Start to build this beautiful tone across all of that. But I'm going to turn that tremolo off because I'm going to show you some of the other, pedals that I might use. I have a great pedal called a Cloudburst, so I'm going to turn that on right now. But if you just listen, that's a nice, beautiful sound. I'll turn the Cloudburst on. This is a big reverb. You can hear it at that top end. It bit of tone to that top end, and then you can start to do things where you can really bring those high notes alive. So you can play like this. Some real beauty into that sound. So I love that Cloudburst. I don't use it all the time because it does get a bit muddy at times, but I really like the sound of that. It helps me bring things alive, and even sometimes if I'm doing a solo or something like that, it just helps add a bit of sparkle to that. So that's the Cloudburst. But now sometimes I like to use a little bit of distortion, right? So if I'm going to play a lead or, you know, a solo or something like that, then having this sound is great, but I really want it to cut through a little bit more. There's two pedals I use to do that. I use a Boss blues driver. So there was a Craft blues driver, what is it? BD2W. So I really like that. I was surprised. I sort of bought it on a whim. I didn't expect to like it very much, but I loved it. So and I kick that on, you get, it's not much noise, so that, you know, it sounds really good. Now you're starting to get into that distortion sound. So that's a sort of a hard distortion sound. But if I turn it down on the guitar, you can start to hear a bit of beauty in that, right? So it's just a touch of distortion over the top, just to give it that sparkle. So you can start to see that it's got really now. So if I think about some of my lead tones, some of the songs, I've got a song called 50 Years, and at the start of that song it's... So you can really start to get some of that beauty and some of that cut through with that distortion. And it's good because it's sort of a low noise pedal, so it doesn't make a lot of noise. It doesn't make my mix all muddy. But the other thing, I'm going to turn that off now, and this is a recent discovery for me because I've never sort of used this side of the pedal, but I have a Hudson broadcast, like I said before, and I always use the left-hand side, which is the boost. But it's also got a right-hand side, which is a fuzz pedal, right? So I'm going to turn that on. I'm going to let you have a listen to that. You can already hear it's a bit noisy. I don't know if that's coming through. It probably is. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the guitar down a little bit because, it's like I said before, you can just see a little bit of a sparkle. It brings a little bit of a sparkle to that sound, right? So you can get that. But then you can really dig into it as well, right? So I'm going to turn the volume up now and I get this. Right, so you can really dig in and hear that. See that? So I'm starting to like it. I've sort of put up with the noise. I never really liked the noise of a fuzz pedal, but then when you've got mix in and you can hear, like if I'm playing just guitar by itself, I don't know if I'd go for it, but if I'm playing over the top of a track and you can't really hear that noise, you can really get some beauty. When that same thing I was playing before, that song 50 Years, you can really hear it kick in now. A bit louder. So you can really hear that nice tone that's there. So these are the optionals, right? I have my bass sound and I have these as the optional. I'll turn that fuzz off now. And so that they help me build my tone. And what I do is I go through the Duchess, and out the back it's got this cabinet modulator, like a cabinet, IR cabinet thing, where it's two tones IR cabinet. So rather than going through my speaker, I usually have it go through the speaker as well, so I can hear it in the room, and I can wear this great hat that you guys all know me for. And I wore that hat because I didn't like the light shining off my bald head. Yes, I have a bald head, so that's the hat you all know me by. But it was really just to get this, to stop the light shining off my bald head. But then I have a cable coming out of that going in, which is this IR cab. So then I use the IR cab that goes into the computer as well. I might just add a little bit of reverb or presence so it sounds like it's actually in a room rather than a digital sound. And this is my setup. I just love this setup. I haven't been able to get anywhere near it in plugins and indoors. When I use a digital recorder, I literally just record the sound that I create here. In my heart, I need to hear it here first before I hear it in the recording. I love this this guitar, this Yamaha Revstar Pro. I just love the P90 pickups. But I have an amazing Fender Stratocaster as well, and a Telecaster, which are just beautiful guitars. I have a nice Gibson. I don't play it very often. It's sort of not my style, but it's incredible when I really want to rip into a solo for a song or something like that. So it allows me to just hit those high notes. There's a reason why those guitars are so amazing, right? So I've sort of, there's a lot of pedals to get a pretty clean sound, but it's not about having the clean sound. It's about bringing the sound to life. The one thing I said to you at the start is that I would save the most important thing to last, and that's in the fingers, right? There's a great saying which is toners in the fingers, and I can pick up a guitar and maybe it doesn't have half of these pedals or any of these pedals, but it sort of still sounds like me. Maybe not at full ball, and that's because I've sort of worked on how do I get the tone from these fingers. So. For me, the one thing I want to say, and I'm having to lift my guitar up because the camera's sort of gone down, is I've learned to have some respect for the note. And this is so important because I hear, young guitar players all the time and they sort of go, donk, donk. Turn that off. But, they're hitting the notes. And they're thinking about what's the next note, and they've moved on before they've had respect for the notes they're playing. For me, and the reason why some of you may like my playing, is I want the note to come alive, right? So I want that. I want to hear that. I want to hear those little things. That's important. Those tiny, tiny little things are more important to me than any of these pedals. Because if I don't have respect for the note, it's just going to sound like noise, right? And I even played a game with my wife because I said to her, if she was ever blindfolded, I wanted her to know which guitar player was me. And I told her just to listen for that. Listen, and I'm not the only guitar player that does that by any means, and I'm not special. I'm just a guy that's worked it out over many years how to find his own style. But for me, it's all about finding the respect or having respect for the note. So, see that little bit there? So look, I hope that was helpful. Like I said, I really appreciate all the support. You guys give so many nice messages to me, but I do get the question quite a bit, how do you get your tone? And I think a lot of people think it's some digital thing. I've tried a few different digital things and I can't get any of them to work. But if you can do something, if you can take that whole setup that I've just talked about and you're able to do it in a digital chain, let me know, because maybe I'll do a bake-off. I'll try one against the other. But for me, it's just too hard. I can't figure out how to make it work. So anyway, I'll just play a little bit to finish the show. But thank you for your videos. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. And yeah, give me any tips you want to give me. If I'm getting something wrong, you just let me know. I just want to share what I know. So thanks a lot. Again, that sounds a bit rough because I've got it turned up high, so I'm going to turn down the volume a little bit. So. very much. I hope that helped.